Body Lose Boutique, and today I'm going to show you how I make faces for my polymer clay dolls. The faces are the first step in making a doll and also the most complicated. I hope I can help you guys out by sharing some tips and tricks that I've learned along the years. Enjoy! So to start, you'll need a roller to roll out your clay. You'll need an assortment of dotting tools. You will need a blade or an X-Acto knife. That works too. You'll need a small circle cutter, very small. This is what I use for the eyes. You will need something to blush the cheeks, which I use pastels, but you can also use just regular blush. And you'll need a brush to apply. You'll need your clay. I have flesh colored clay, I have white for the eyes, I have the eye color, which for this particular face I'm using blue, and then black for the eyeliner and for the pupils. I would also have some wipes handy, and that is because you want to make sure your hands are clean, switching between colors. So here is a face that I just made. Super cute and easy once you get it down, but I'm going to warn you, it does take some practice. So here we go. I like to start by grabbing a little bit of the flesh colored clay and just rolling it around in my hands. I found that after using a baby wipe and washing my hands, sometimes there's still some leftover debris, and for whatever reason, using the clay to roll around, it really picks all that off and cleans up your hands. And your next step is to take your flesh colored clay, depending on what size you want your face to be. I like my faces to be relatively small and kind of a sideways oval shape, so more wide set. I like my eyes to be pretty far apart. So I just take a small piece, I roll it into a ball. Once I set it down on my surface, since I make two-dimensional polymer clay dolls, I just kind of push it against the surface, smooth it out, and shape it the way I want it. And then I take my largest dotting tool, and since I like my eyes relatively big, I use the largest dotting tool and I just push into the clay where I want the eyes. And you can use a smaller dotting tool if you prefer smaller eyes. It's really up to you and how you want your dolls to look. Once I have those indentations in, I grab my white clay, and you don't need a lot, just a small amount, and I roll it out so it's very thin. You want the clay to be thin enough to where when you, after you're done using your circle cutter to cut the round white part of the eye out, you want to be able to push that into the flesh colored clay with your dotting tool and not have it protruding. So you want it to look pretty flush with the flesh colored clay. So once it's thin enough, go ahead and take your round circle cutter, your tiny circle cutter, cut 2 circles. And you can just pick those up or use your blade to pick them up and place them on your face. So once I put them on, I just take my, once I put both of those white circles on the eyes, I take my dotting tool and I just push it in slightly. I don't push too hard. I don't want. So the next part is putting color in your eyes. For this doll, I chose blue eyes. So I'm just going to grab a small piece of blue clay and roll it into a ball. And this is all going to depend on how big you like the colored part of your eyes to be on your dolls. I like the colored part to take up the majority of the white. So I just go ahead and roll that into a little ball, place it on the white, and I try to do my best to make a ball of that same size for the other eye. As you can see, I don't measure, so I just kind of wing it and try to get them as close in size as I can. I take my dotting tool, it's a little smaller than the large one I have, and I gently push that into the white. You want to do your best not to push too hard. You don't want to make a larger indentation than you already have. So once I clean off the blue off of my hands, I grab my black clay so I can start on the pupils and the eyeliner and eyebrows. So you want to rip off a piece of black clay that is smaller than the colored part, because obviously you don't want the pupils to take up all of the colored part of the eye, unless you are going for that look. I mean, it's totally up to you. Clay dolls are kind of subjective. You can choose to make yours look however you want. But I like mine to the pupil part of the eye to not be too large where it takes up the entire colored part. So I just go ahead and press those into the blue. And then I start on the eyeliner portion. To do that, I just make a snake out of the black clay. I like my eyeliner to be pretty thin, so once I get it to about how thin I like it for the eyeliner, I just take my blade and I cut off a piece that is big enough to where it lines the entire top part of the eye, and then cat eyes out a little bit. And I like it to cat eye out because it gives the look of eyelashes. So I put that onto the eye, and I use the bottom part of my dotting tool, which is like this flat rubbery piece, to shape the eyeliner how I want it. I like the beginning part of the eyeliner to curve with the circle of the eye, and then I like the end, the outer end of the eyeliner to cat eye out. So I just use this little flat part of the dotting tool to shape it however I want on my eyeball. And I do the same thing with the other side. And the next step is to take that eyeliner that you rolled out and cut a few more pieces. I like to cut 2 little pieces for extra eyelashes, and then I take even skinnier part of the snake and I make 2 little eyebrows. And the next detail that I add to my doll's eyes are little white dots that I put on the pupils of the eyes. I like to put a larger little white dot on the upper inner part of the pupil, and then I make a really, really tiny white dot that I add to the lower outer part of the pupil. And I just take a little ball of clay and I make it as small as I can, roll it into a ball, push it onto the pupil, and I use my dotting tool to push it on. And I do this to both sides. I think it just adds a little bit of dimension to the doll's eyes, and it has a very cute look to it. And when you're ready to push those clay balls, the white ones, into the pupils, I would use the smallest dotting tool you have. You want to make sure you're only pushing down on those white parts and not the entire eye. Otherwise, you're going to mess up your eyeliner, the lashes, and everything else. So just use the smallest dotting tool you have. And then I also go ahead and use that small dotting tool to make the mouth. I like my dolls to look very cutesy and surprised, so I just poke a hole with the dotting tool where I want the mouth, and I kind of drag it down ever so slightly. Now, sometimes I leave my dolls without a nose. I think it looks super cute. But if I want to make a nose, I just grab a tiny piece of flesh-colored clay. I'm talking super tiny. And I roll it into a ball. I like my noses to be less round and more like the sideways oval look, kind of like the shape of the head. And I just push it onto the face. Next, I like to blush the cheeks. For boy dolls, I just use like a more of an orangish tan color. For my girl dolls, I use kind of like a bright pink. And I just lightly apply. Regular blush works just as well, but I happen to really like this color, the pastels that I have for the cheeks. And you'll see that adding the blush to the cheeks really adds dimension to the doll's face and makes it look less flat. And there you have it. There is a finished face. Thanks so much for watching my video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section and I'll answer them as best as I can. Happy crafting!